Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real life working screenwriter. I am Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, Act Two is a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter, of which this podcast is just one of the things we do. So thank you for joining us here. If you'd like to DM us with questions and topic suggestions, or you just want to say hi, you can do that at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. You can also find me, Tasha, on Instagram at Story Thursday and Tasha 3.0 on Twitter.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tasha. I have this jacket on that you haven't even noticed.
Oh, damn. Hogwarts.
Yeah. Do you have anything to talk about?
Yes, I have things to talk about.
This week in writing.
All right, so I got some this week's in writings.
Let's go.
Well, a couple are questions for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with the question. Josh, we talked about hip pocketing at one point, and we got a follow-up question from a listener about hip pocketing. They were like, thank you so much for talking about it. It was so relevant for me right now, but I'm at a stage where I'm ready to go out with a spec. What do I do when I'm being hip pocketed and I have a spec that needs to go out? Since you have been hip pocketed and are a spec writer, I thought you might have some perspective on your own experience. I have some thoughts, but Josh, what did you do, or what do you think about that scenario for someone?
All right. So number one, the thing that I love about this podcast is that people can write in emails that we sit down to reply to, but then just end up answering on the podcast and not having to actually write an email back.
Every time.
Number two, I think in this scenario, what I have done, if I'm trying to remember correctly, and what I would do is tell this person I have a spec that I'd like to take out, get their opinion on it, and then because you're being hip pocketed, you can pretty much directly ask this person to send it out and try to get reads and just take it out to the world and take it out to companies. You're also in a position where it's like, hey, this is my spec. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to find someone else who will.
I think that's exactly what I would say as well. Yeah, you're in a position of power because you have content IP that could be sold.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is their job. They don't have to wait on you. They don't have to make you write. They don't have to do anything. It's there, just sitting on their desk, and they just have to go make some calls.
Yeah.
And it's the best position to be in when you're hip pocketing, because like Josh, you can just tell from Josh's tone, there's a little bit of a power shift in a way where you feel like you can say, hey, here's a spec, and this person has multiple specs, so they're in a really good spot. Like, here's a spec, please take it out. And you may have to do some initial work yourself where you're like, I think it should go to these companies. Companies, like, let's say you have a comedy, it's going to companies that do comedy, so that you can just sort of, come at them with a strategy, so they don't have to like come up with a strategy themselves. Because sometimes these hip pocketing agents are younger. They're like coordinators who are up and coming, and they maybe haven't taken out a spec before, which is fine, because all you really need from them is the legitimacy of their email, essentially. The legitimacy of the fact that they work at a company, so that you can get past that barrier, that invisible barrier at studios and production companies that says, I won't take any submission that's not from an agent or a manager. And that's all you really need them for. So if you sent them a spec, make sure it's ready though, right? It has to be good. Like that still applies here, because their reputation is still on the line for sending your stuff out. So make sure it's good. Do all the things we said in our last episode about how to know when your script is ready. And then, when you submit it, I would submit it also with, here's my strategy. I think we should go to these people. Let's hop on the phone and talk through when we're going to do this and how, and come strong.
I want to piggyback off something. And as you were talking, I just had a memory come flooding back to me with the spec that I had. So if your agent in this scenario is younger or on the younger side, they definitely are hungry, and they're probably willing to slip the script to some of their friends. And I'm bringing this up because I knew a woman who was at an agency, and then she went to a different agency. And a few of the agents had left, and I was kind of working with one at the time. But that woman in particular always stayed in contact with me. And she was younger, she was hungry. And so I had this spec that I actually had reached out to her about to read. And I was like, hey, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And that was kind of my first entry point into it. She liked the spec. That then kind of turned into a hip pocket scenario because she said, hey, I'm just going to send this to a couple of my friends. And along the lines of what you're saying, what I wanted to piggyback off of is I definitely had a script that I was like, I think it's this kind of script. This is a long line. These are the companies I think it's good for. I've worked with people who definitely don't want to hear from writers and about a strategy because they're kind of like, let me handle the strategy. But if you can kind of position it in the sense of, this script is for 87 North and it's kind of this action comedy or action contained movie, contained thriller, whatever it may be, that really paints the picture. And then they can kind of get on board with that. And, oh, I know so-and-so over here. I know so-and-so over here. So my point being is keep in mind these people want to pass it out. Come in, like you're saying, with the strategy. I agree with that, but also just kind of paint the picture of what kind of movie you think it is.
That's great. Yeah.
That's it.
That's great. Can I piggyback off of that a little bit?
Let's go.
Because you said something that sort of makes me nervous about hip pocketing, and it is a con of hip pocketing, where a lot of times if they're younger agents coming up, like coordinators about to make that leap into being an agent, they may not have a network yet at 87 North, right? At
Right.
these bigger companies. And so oftentimes they will say, let me send it to a few of my friends. And what I translate from that is I don't have I don't have a connection at the companies you just sent me. I have my own little network that I've sort of started building, and I'm going to send it to like those people who might be at random places, which is why I do think it is important to have a say when you are hip pocketing. Like Josh and I just had a conversation with our agents about the strategy for our spec that's going out, and we're kind of deferring to them. Like they know what's up. They've been in the business for a long time, and we trust their strategy. If it's a hip pocketing situation, I might just be aware that you may have to. I don't want you to like completely take control, as Josh is saying. Like that's still their job, but don't be afraid to offer suggestions and to handhold a little bit more. And if they say, I just want to send to my trusted friends, you are well within your rights to say, who are those friends at what company? And to say, I don't think it's right for them because that's a comedy company and this is really more of an action thriller.
Mm-hmm.
How about these companies instead? So do some of your research beforehand and just help them along because they also may need some of that help from you. Okay. My next This Week in Writing is I tried to explain to my 84-year-old dad what the Mighty Nine was. And he asked me, he was like, oh, he's 84 and whatever. So he's like, when's your movie coming out? I was like, movie? Oh, he means my TV show. Okay. And he's like, what's it about? And I was like, did you see the trailer? He's like, yeah. He's like, you didn't get it. I was like, have you seen The Dirty Dozen, Dad? And he's like, yeah. I was like, it's like that.
Oh.
So thank you, Josh. You really helped me be able to pitch this to my 84-year-old dad.
Were you thinking it was not like The Dirty Dozen until we talked and then?
No, it's 100% The Dirty Dozen. It just like hadn't necessarily like articulated itself in my brain in that exact way, but it's such a perfect comp. So he's like, oh, okay, like they're fighting for America, but they're bad. And I was like, yeah,
totally.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's good. And remind us when it comes out.
November 19th on Amazon Prime Video.
November frickin' 19th. Everybody better put it in their calendar right now.
So excited.
We should just send out an iCal invite to everyone.
What the fuck is this? All right, I do have another one.
Okay, go.
All right, so I went to a networking event recently, which is something we've talked about, given the awesome film festival of it all. And something I noticed that we forgot to talk about, but that I was really noticing around the room was body language. And Josh, I know you know this intuitively because I can see you do it. But I found that it was a networking event at like a Thai market, like an outdoor food market, and so it was all outside, in like aisleways of picnic benches and stuff like that. And I think nobody really knew anyone else, and so as soon as someone started talking to someone else, they were like. I think their feeling was like, oh, thank God I found someone to talk to. And then their body language was they would like close close themselves off to the rest of everybody else because they're kind of like, oh, thank God I have someone to talk to. And I was noticing this everywhere, and I was like, oh no, like someone needs to tell them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Open
You
up.
really have to open up your body and like allow for there to be like an empty space for someone to pull up into your conversation. Or if, there's another crowd to your right, let's say, and you're talking to someone on your left, kind of stand a little sideways. Don't put your back to the crowd because someone from that little crowd over here might want to immigrate over to your little crowd over here. And if your back is turned, it can tell people like, oh, they're in a heated conversation. Like, I don't want to be a part of that. It's just harder for someone to access your group. So something else to be aware of in networking events is your body language. Are you open? And maybe like glance at people as they walk by to like let them know like, hey, like I'm a friendly person. You're welcome to come in, because that can give people an invite too. But so many people were literally like introducing themselves to the person like I was talking to and then turning their back on me. And I was like, that's
No.
not how you talk. You gotta like open, we create a circle, you guys.
Yeah. You got to read the room. In these
Yeah.
networking events, you have to understand we're all here, whether we like it or not. Like, you're just kind of there, unless you're with your friends, but you have to kind of be inviting to other people to come in, because that's probably why someone is there, is just to talk. And it's not to make a connection or to get a phone number or anything like that. Sometimes it's just to have a conversation and allow the conversation to unfold naturally, because you don't want to be a dick and someone went out of their way to go there.
Yeah.
And you're there. So,
Yeah. It's interesting.
man.
All right. My little tidbit was that.
I wish I had a better this week in writing, exciting stuff. I don't think I had anything
I have
exciting.
so many. You didn't have anything at all?
I can't even remember.
One last thing that I'm going to make a This Week in Writing, I'm going to just shove it into this hole, even though it doesn't fit, is we're recording this early, and I went to Game 3 of the World Series last night, which is why my voice sounds like this. If any of you saw it, it was
Yeah.
a really long game. And my This Week in Writing about it is, why does sports make you so emotional?
It's the best.
Why, like, my heart rate was through the roof, and my husband cried when we won. Like,
It's the best.
I cried at the beginning when everyone is getting together and they're shaking everyone's hands and they're announcing the team, and it's this like, you see that it's just this labor of teamwork, love.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you get so obsessed with the 9 players on the field, but when they spread out like that at the World Series and you see just how many people and coaches are involved, you're like, fuck, this is such a team effort. It's so beautiful. I don't know, man. Sports. There's a story, and that's why we always come back to sports movies. Excuse me. Sports movies and sports shows. There's something so like inherently human that's just bottled up in like in the field that you experience in this really like full way that is honestly incredible. It was amazing.
Live events, the live sporting events, we were talking about this, the theatrics before the games, they're just, they get you just so involved, and then everyone's there cheering for the same thing. And we've talked about this a million times, of the correlation between writing and sports. I'm not saying that's unfolding before you, but there is some kind of, I think, you're watching these people just kind of like grind and struggle, and they're high-fiving each other, and it's like, man, they've worked so hard for this. And we know what it's like to work so hard for something and fail and succeed, and it's awesome to watch it unfold in 18 innings.
It's beautiful. That's it, I guess.
This is going to age poorly if something really bad happens, and like
nothing bad is going to happen. It's going to be fine. Future Tasha.
It's a very exciting World Series.
It's been great so far.
Go Dodgers, man.
Go Dodgers.
Okay.
All right. We're ready for today's topic. Today's topic comes from a listener who emailed us and asked us to talk about career longevity. How do you maintain a writing career? Josh, can I tell you a really sad story about this?
Yeah, just absolutely. That's what
Just
I was waiting to hear.
All right. When I was an assistant at Universal, I would get unsolicited calls all the time. I have no idea how people got my number, but they would call me to ask if either my boss or I could hear their movie pitch. And I would always tell them no because legally I couldn't hear it. It has to come from an agent or a manager, or else Universal can get into trouble with people claiming like Fast and Furious was originally my idea and I pitched it to Tasha. So we were told to just blatantly tell people no. But one day, this writer called me and he sounded a bit older, a bit calmer. Usually the calls were from like younger, fast talking, nervous people who, you could just tell they've never made a call like this before.
Sure.
But this guy did not sound that way. He said that he recently had lost his agent and his manager, and he's been trying to get his pitch out into the world, and would my boss be willing to hear it? And I had to tell him no. And he said, "Look, I'm a seasoned writer." He assured me he was not a crazy person, and he said his name, and I looked it up live while we were talking on the phone, and this guy was an Emmy winner, like back in the 80s and the early 90s, something like that. And I remember feeling very dirty. It's still clearly a memory I have, and it's been quite a while, that I had to tell this man no, and I could hear the frustration and the heartbreak in his voice, and he just sounded tired. But I know for a fact my boss would not have heard this random writer's pitch who won an Emmy 30 years ago and had no reps.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly, I still think about this man. I hope he found his way, but I also think about him a lot when I'm in fear mode because that man when he accepted his Emmy, just imagine that moment. He felt on top of the world. His career was peaking. He's clearly a good enough writer to win an Emmy. His entire life as a screenwriter must have felt like it was laying before him.
Yeah.
Like this flat open field. He just had to run through it. And here he is calling some asshole assistant who won't even hear his pitch, and probably was a child when he was up there on stage on top of the world. And it's brutal in this business. This job is brutal because if it can happen to him, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
So this episode is not about how to give up, because we could all be unemployed Emmy winners someday. This episode is about the steps you can take to try to set yourself up for success so that doesn't happen to you. Or if it does happen to you, how do you come out of it, right?
So I know people in all areas. I used to know actors. When I first moved out here, I lived with certain people and they had friends over who, I was younger. I was in my 20s and they would have friends over who were a little bit older, but they had been on shows and some had been in movies and some had directed movies. And at that time, I'm like, oh my God. But then I hear them talk about how difficult things were for them then. And then they just kind of were gone, and I remember thinking that early on, like, this is the most insane industry. It's terrifying. This is probably why. Yes, my point being is this Emmy winner that you spoke to, it's a real possibility. And it's terrifying that to think that you can be on top of the world. I guess this is every avenue of life, but there's something that's so high about the entertainment industry and so low. It just happens.
I think a lot of other industries, obviously a lot of other industries are as tough as ours, if not tougher, but a lot of industries, you don't have to constantly be pushing forward. You can kind of just do your thing and you'll be okay. But this is one that constantly feels like as soon as you've won an Emmy, a boulder falls on you and you have to figure out fresh again how to push that heavy or boulder up the hill again. So these are tools to really help you when those things are happening. And I would say they're not fast and hard rules. Of course, as Josh is saying, there's nothing hard and fast about our industry in any way. But I think they're tools that will help you with your career longevity. It's gonna be a tough, like emotionally tough episode. I feel like it's a hard reality to think about.
Yeah, it's not like we're immune to it. Like we don't have the answers.
Absolutely not.
Nobody has the answers to this. That's like the craziest part. But
yeah, I recently went to, as I mentioned on the podcast, SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design at the Atlanta campus, and we did a panel. And someone came up to me afterwards and asked, like, how do I get your job? And I was like, well, because the way he asked it was like, where do I apply? And I was like, oh, well, I graduated from college 20 years ago. It took this long to get to the job that you want. And I could see his face just completely fall, like I had just destroyed every hope and dream he's ever had, which is kind of just to say like it is a lot of hard work all the time, and which is why the first piece of advice any writer will ever give you is to love it. Because if you don't love it, then that 20 years struggle to get to this place of having a show I'm really proud of coming out in November 19th on Amazon Prime Video, can feel like it's not worth it. Can feel like, why the fuck am I doing this? I should just go into something that has more stability or whatever, and I'll just write on the side. Anyways, we have a lot of thoughts about this, but we're going to break these up into particular tools that you can use to set yourself up for success and career longevity. And the first tool, Joshua, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
This may seem obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people fail at this one simple rule. Don't be a dick.
I know a lot of people who have burned bridges. I've burned a bridge or two along the way.
You?
And I'm sure, and I'm sure people, you know, I know exactly some of the people who I never want to see or work with again, right? It's not always going to be perfect. There's always going to be people who are going to be resentful, and you're going to have problems with someone. There's going to be but overall, I think what you're saying, the don't be a dick aspect, is people like people who they like, right? And so you want to always, you know, if something happened, it's like, oh, I know Tasha. I was thinking of her. Here's a script of hers or something to that extent where
she's so pleasant to work with. She's so collaborative. She's all the things that I want within the next 3 years as I'm working on this project.
100%.
Yeah, and you know the reality again of the business, when you get past all the fun stuff we talk about, to actually get your movie or TV show made, you know, it ends up being like you and a huge crew, on set in stormy Ireland at 3 a.m. You're cold, you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, you're away from your families, and if you're a dick, it's really going to shine through, and people are going to tell other people, because it is ultimately at the end of the day a very small community. They're going to tell other people that you're a dick, and people are going to not want to hire you. I have been on the other end of that, of people telling me, don't hire this person, they're a dick. And so I don't, and that's they've burned a bridge somewhere, and that's gotten back to me, and all I need to know is that someone feels that way who I trust, and that's enough for me to not hire someone, because it's just not worth the effort to take that chance, to take that risk on someone if they really are a dick. Or if you don't see yourself on set, but you're in a writer's room every day, seeing the same people for hours and hours at a time in the same small room for 4 to 6 to 9 to 12 months straight. If they don't like you, if you make their lives harder or unpleasant and you're not supportive, that's going to bite you in the butt. It's going to bite you in the butt when, even if the showrunner loves you, doesn't matter. One of those other writers are going to be a showrunner someday, or they're friends of other showrunners, and they're going to tell that showrunner not to hire you. Just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
On the other hand, if you're supportive and you're collaborative and you're kind and you're pleasant and you're professional, when that next project comes up and they're looking for a writer, they're going to very fondly remember how awesome Josh was and want to hire you. And that is part of career longevity.
Just don't be too kind. Anyway, go on.
Which brings me to tool number, don't listen to Josh. Brings me to tool number 2. Be professional. And this is similar to don't be a dick, but I wanted to get a little more specific here, because our industry can easily blur the lines on professionalism, because ultimately we are all just a bunch of nerdy children who love movies and TV. And we're basically just like finger painting with other nerds who love movies and TV. When you get into a room, we're all just wearing casual clothes. We don't wear suits. We wear baseball hats and Converse and graphic tees. And we sit in a room talking very seriously. If it's me and my job, it's like about fairies and magic wands and car chases and whether Lara Croft's butt is too small in this character design, and we get paid to do that. So it can be confusing that it is a real job, but it is. And if you are not a professional in every space you enter as a screenwriter, you will find that people want to work with you less and less. So what does professional mean in our industry? It means be on time. I think deadlines are a very real thing. And while, of course, it's hard to contain creativity to a deadline, I've definitely been late on projects before. I think still try with every fiber of your being to be on time. On time to meetings, always, of course. On time with your drafts, yes, please. If you do need extra time, be professional about asking for more time. You know, another thing is treat your fellow coworkers with respect. It can be hard in our industry because there's so many egos. You may have one, someone you work with may have one, but treat your coworkers with respect the same way as if you were working in insurance and you had cubicle mates, right? Treat the assistant with respect who just brought you coffee. The editor who just made a scene worse, it's okay, they're still on your team. Still treat them well. Maybe a producer just gave you stupid notes. Don't put them down. They deserve your respect as well. And I can't emphasize enough how like easy this is, but how many people sort of miss this piece of the puzzle.
You're absolutely right. I agree with everything you just said. But yes, the professionalism and just because you become reliable and you become like a trusted individual when you are professional. And if someone's hiring you, they know they can put you around anybody and it's going to be okay, as opposed to, being in a room with someone who is not that person. But
Yeah. Yeah.
no notes. I agree with everything you just said.
You know what can be interesting is, I hear a lot of, we all do, a lot of horror stories in TV writers' rooms of people maybe quote unquote being too comfortable in a room,
Mm.
which really is just a mask for them feeling like they can say really inappropriate things, like sexual things, racist things. And that happens a lot in writers' room, which is really interesting. And I think it is because this line of professionalism breaks down and people feel like their true selves in this like sort of uglier part of themselves can come out because they feel like, well, I'm in a room with a bunch of friends. We've been here for 4 months. We joke around. We have meals together all the time. We'll go see movies on the weekends sometimes because I like them so much. And we're a bunch of friends in a room. And I think that's true. But you're also professionals. And I have been in that space where we all are friends in a writer's room, but someone says something that is inappropriate and would absolutely not be taken for a second in a cubicle type job. And it always shocks me that they think that that's an okay thing to say, even though we're friends. Like we're friends, but we're coworkers, and it's a careful line. Please walk it when you are in these spaces, though. That is important for career longevity. Okay, the next one, similar as well. Tool number 3 is don't fuck people over.
This is a big one.
As you can see, a lot of the tools are really just subheadings of don't be a dick. So if you remember nothing else from this entire episode, just remember that tool, don't be a dick, and you're already ahead of the game. But don't fuck people over is a great tool to remember because one thing that comes up a lot for us writers are tough choices. For example, this is a very common one that I will run through. You get hired by a producer to write a script. First off, congratulations. You found one of the few producers with development funds. They probably didn't pay you very much, again, because they don't have the same kinds of development funds as a studio might, but it's enough to pay your rent for a while and give you a little breathing room before that next job. It's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. And sure, maybe you like the project well enough. You found that thing that you love about it. You pitched your ass off and you won the job. So again, congratulations. But cut to 4 weeks later, you are diligently working on this script for this producer. You get your commencement check, which isn't a whole lot after you've given your share to your reps, but it's not bad either. It still gets you through. And you find you can't just spend this time working on one script because what happens when you're done? You'll get your delivery check and then you won't have another rent check lined up. So while you're diligently working on the script you're being paid for, you're also there pitching or writing your own original spec, or you're trying to get in a writer's room. So now let's say that you do get into a writer's room at week 5 of this job that you're already working. Well, shit. Now you have this page script for the producer you have to write, and you're going to be spending all of your days in a writer's room. Great. You have an overwhelming abundance of checks now. But now you're going to be pulled between 2 jobs that in themselves are full-time jobs. What do you do? I think if you choose to fuck someone over, you're going to have your reps tell that producer, "Hey, sorry, she got a job in a writer's room and she's just not going to be able to deliver on your script until she's done with that. And she's not going to be done with the writer's room for 6 months." And the producer who's expecting their script in 3 months from now, they now can't get their script for another 9 months. It's gonna be almost a whole year before they even see their script that they wanna produce and that will make them money when they go on to produce it, right? And the producer kind of can't do anything about that. Like, they could push back, they could be angry, they could try to sue you, but is it really worth the cost of that? No, they're probably just going to eat that time, and now you've fucked them over. And when someone calls that producer and says, "Hey, how was it working with Tasha?" They're going to say exactly how it was working with me, which was I was untrustworthy and I was rude and I fucked them over. But if you have this scenario and you don't fuck someone over, it looks a little more like this, where you personally reach out to that producer. You explain the situation. You explain how important it is for you to take this writer's room job, not only for your career, but also financially. This is something you really, really want to do. And this is where our next tool will come into play. But you basically explain to them your project is not at a standstill. I still love this script so much that I'm writing for you. I will work in my spare time outside of the room. I will work nights and I will work weekends and I will get this to you. And the deadline might need to be pushed a little bit more, but I promise you I will still dedicate and work my ass off to write the best script for you possible. And the producer will likely understand that because they know what it's like to be a freelance writer in this business, right? They understand the importance of having steady work, like a writer's room. And you can have your agents kind of sneak in there and help soften them up after that conversation or before. Plus, producers, I think, are genuinely impressed by writers who are in demand and who are working. It shows them, hey, I made the right choice to hire Tasha because someone else thinks she's also a good writer, and that helps them as well. I think some producers will definitely be dicks to you. That has happened to me before. Well, they'll put their foot down and they're like, "You signed a contract. You absolutely cannot take this new job." But you have to because financially you absolutely have to. And that's I think when you can start to defer to your reps. But you did your part. You did the professional thing, and that's what's important. That's an example of, I guess, yeah, how to not fuck someone over. All right, tool number 4, learn how to multitask. The more you are able to multitask, the more job opportunities you will be able to pursue and the more jobs you can handle at once and the more likely you are to be able to pay your rent and your mortgage with writing. Multitasking, in my opinion, after don't be a dick, is one of the most important tools to have for having a longevity as a screenwriter. If you are not a natural multitasker, learn it. Find ways to learn it, YouTube it, whatever. Listen to our podcast. We talk about multitasking all the time. If you are a multitasker, get to work. This is where you shine.
Yeah, and well, let's break this down a little bit. Do you mean working on multiple projects?
I do.
Yeah, okay. I agree. Multitasking is really important, and I think that could be multiple scripts, different platforms, different if you're trying to produce something, having different avenues of being like, I'm going to work on this now, I'm going to work on this now, I'm going to work on this now, where it's all obviously flowing back into a writing career or your career in the entertainment industry, but that ability to do multiple things is pretty freaking important.
It is. Yeah. And the more you can be, as you're describing, entrepreneurial with your screenwriting career, also the better. And that's part of the multitasking task. Writers who are building production companies seem to be all the rage right now, and seem to be um, a key to making sure they have income coming in, even if they're not selling scripts, which I think can be really important. I think like Simon Kinberg is a good example of someone who was able to make that shift early and is a kind of a shining example for how it can be done, where he was just a writer. He was writing, he was rewriting scripts at studios, and he became the go-to guy to get scripts over the line. And then now he's Simon Kinberg and have produced all the X-Men movies
Yeah.
and Mr. and Mr. Smith. Um, I want to play out a scenario of why multitasking is important
Yeah.
to emphasize to you why multitasking is important. So let's say on January 1st, you start the process of pitching on a movie. It's an open writing assignment. Let's say it takes you 2 weeks for you to put the pitch together, which is fast. You pitch it, they love it. They have a few notes, and then they want you to come back and pitch to their boss. Now, the boss is harder to schedule. So the next pitch meeting is about in 3 weeks or so, maybe 4, because you need another week to actually do the notes. So now we're in February. You pitch to the boss. You did great. Now they have to wait to hear the other 5 pitches that they're listening to. And now we're well into April if you're lucky, because most of the pitches will get rescheduled. Each of those writers also need 2 to 4 weeks to put their pitch together. They get notes from the junior exec, then the senior exec. So now the best case scenario, best, is you get a call in April, you got the job. Congratulations. The studio will send your reps the offer. We can't wait to work with you. Let's say it then takes them 2 weeks or so for their business affairs to put the offer together and to send to your reps. Again, this is also ideal. All of these situations are going to be ideal. It's usually longer for everything that I'm talking about. Your reps then let you know, hey, we got the offer in. We're going to put together our counter, and then we're going to give you a call to discuss that. Great, things are really moving. A week later, you hop on a call to discuss the counter offer with your reps and you approve. Let's say you approve. Let's say you don't have notes. You approve. Let's shoot them the counter offer. We're doing great. Now it's the time for the studio's business affairs to deliberate on the counter offer. At this point, we're definitely into June, July, maybe even August before the deal is closed. I've had deals take like 9 months before. So it's like, I haven't seen these producers in a year, and now I'm finally
Like,
can talk to them about the project. So again, let's take the earliest possible version of this. Let's say your deal is done and signed by June, but you're a smart writer. You figured the deal's probably going to close, so you actually start writing it in April. Good for you. Back when they said you got the job, you started writing. You're 3 months ahead, because the usual time that the WJ gives you to write a first draft of a movie is 12 weeks, 3 months. So in this scenario, shortly after you sign your deal, you're ready kind of to deliver your first draft. And now you have to wait for the studio to read it and to give you notes. This will take weeks. If you're lucky, it'll take 1 month. I just had something that went into the studio. I just met with them in October. I submitted the draft in July. But in this scenario, let's say it takes 1 month for the studio to read and give you notes. Now we're in July. And you have a good commencement check. It's a studio movie, of course, so the WJ minimum they would have to pay you is, I believe it's at $38,000 now. Presumably you've gotten more than that because you have really good reps. But you got half of that in June after you sign your contract. More accurately, because of how long it takes you to get your check, you probably receive that check in July. So as a reminder, for you at home who are paying attention, in our year, from January to July, you have no income. But you've been working full-time on pitching and writing a movie for a major studio. So you either have money saved to account for this, to get you through this time, or you are so good at multitasking and have been working on another job in the meantime that is helping you pay your bills. Either way, we are now receiving notes from the studio in July. To revise this will take you well into August, at least, right? Depending on how many notes they give you. You turn it in to your executive in August, and she says, it's not quite ready. And, we're out of steps for you, meaning we paid you all the steps that we have, your revision step, your first draft step. And if you want the movie to continue, we either have to hire a new writer or do a whole new deal, which would take a long time, or you can just quickly address these notes before I give it to my boss, because I already know that my boss wants to take this to the green light committee, but in the current state it's in, I think my boss will kill the project if I send it to them like this. Please just do this last round of notes for free and we'll be good. So you do that. You want to be a good partner. You want to be a team player. You want to be collaborative. You don't want to be a dick. So you do some free work, even when the WGA tells you not to. Now, this is where Josh's comment about being too nice can come in. So you could draw this line if you want to, but let's say,
Finally,
let's say you do the notes because they seem easy and you do want to give the movie its best chance. And now we're in September. And the exec is true to her word. It was only 1 round of free notes. Lucky you. Off to the boss of the studio it goes. But the boss is very, very busy. They are running a studio. Or if it's a production company, kind of really the same thing. And now we're into October. The earliest, probably, before you even hear back from what the boss had to say about your script. More likely we're in November. But again, erring on the side of best case scenario, we're in October. Only after the boss reads it do you get your delivery check? So you're waiting on the boss to come back from set, to stop going on that tour of Saudi Arabia, to get money for the studio. I don't know, whatever they're doing with their lives, you're waiting
Saudi
for them
Arabia.
to go do the thing. Um, the best case scenario, I think, is you've received your full paycheck, your 38,000 or hopefully more for your script after about 10 months, which is great. Again, best case scenario. What's next? Well, let's say your movie gets greenlit and you get a production bonus and you can live on that for a while because, you need to get your next job. But the most likely scenario is you get fired, not because they don't love you, but because they need a character pass. Someone who, again, that's Simon Kinberg, who can get the movie greenlight ready. And rather than give you another set of notes, open up your deal, give you a new deal, they're just going to swap you out with someone they know and they trust for that specific job. Worst case scenario, the boss reads it and your movie's dead. Maybe mandates have changed in the fucking year it took you to write this and get notes and get people to read it. Or someone got fired. Maybe your boss, the boss got fired, your exec got fired, other people got fired, and now they're more scared to make certain things. Maybe their finances have changed. Whatever it is, your project is dead. That's the worst case scenario. Either way, in any of these scenarios, you have no new job at the end of this year and you've been working full time. Finding a new opportunity is going to take months. It's going to take months to find the opportunity, to develop a pitch, to get to the decision point again will take months. And that next paycheck, best case scenario again, is still not for another 6 months at least. Again, and that's if you're the luckiest son of a bitch on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you are a multitasker, you would no longer have to be counting every single week you weren't hearing back, or that your lawyers were taking way too long, or the execs weren't reading fast enough, or the studio boss is on vacation or maternity leave, or whatever. All the myriad things that can happen to slow the process down even further before you get a check, none of that would matter as much to you. It still matters, but it wouldn't matter as much if you were a multitasker. Why? Because while you were pitching in January for that studio movie, you've also been pitching on other movies or a TV show, or you got a job in a writer's room, or you're writing an original spec and you're able to send that out. And now you have power over this thing. Josh, I'm curious, currently, what are you working on?
First of all, that was great. I was so along with that timeline.
It's too real.
Before I get into this, before I forget, and this might tie into something else or to the next thing, but I also think there's a mental aspect of the multitask where you have to be able to kind of leave something and work on something else, because you will lose your freaking mind if you are staying in one thing and you're just, oh, well, I have to get this paycheck, which I get it 100%. I understand. And like, that makes all the sense, but it's so freeing when you have different things going on and you can jump from one thing to the next and be able to do all these different things and try to get into a room and I think that's a really big aspect of it, because you need to have like mental clarity in this industry. Otherwise, you will spin yourself into a web of just complete like downward spiral terribleness of like, what am I doing? This sucks. I like, okay.
Yeah, if your eggs are all in one basket and that basket just blows up, it's just like, it can be really hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And even like, we just wrote something and it's like, okay, it's like, oh yeah, that's going on, and then there's something else going on. But if we were to just focus on the one thing that we have written and we're just waiting on that, we would lose our freaking minds. I know that because I've been down that road before where I've only written one thing and I'm like talking to my reps and I'm like, hey, what's up with this? What's up with this? And then, it's like it just keeps getting pushed. And if you don't have that other thing, it's bad.
It drives you mad. Yeah, that's a great point.
What am I working on? A bunch of stuff. I don't even know, man. I'm writing a...
Count it on your finger. Like, how many projects are you working on at once? And count all of them. Like, just all told, what are the things on your plate?
I have 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. There might be a fifth somewhere in there of just different things that I'm working on at different times. So there's like different phases of different things, that some things are completed, some things are not, but it's always where I can just put my focus on if something is not working.
Yeah. You can shift and push something up the hill even further. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Right? How many things are you working on?
I think if I did my math right, I have 6 movies and 3 TV shows.
Yeah.
all in different stages. So like the first movie, I'm about to get notes back on my first draft this week. The second movie, Josh and I spec, we got feedback from our reps and they are creating a strategy to take it out.
I'm surprised that was our call was yesterday. I'm surprised it like hasn't sold yet.
You better knock on some fucking wood right now, I swear to God. Third movie is a book adaptation for a book that I optioned, and I need to revise it before I send it to my reps and start creating a strategy for that. The fourth movie is a book adaptation for a producer that I'm in the process of revising. I should be finished with this pitch treatment today. So no money on this one so far. We would have to sell it probably sometime next year, and if it sells, only then will it make money. And I've been working on this thing since, I don't know, man, April, I think,
Mm.
maybe March. The fifth and sixth movies are original specs that I'm currently breaking whenever I have time. And then my 3 TV shows are, of course, The Mighty Nine, which we're in post production on season 2 and we're starting to come out. So it's a lot of like press and stuff. The second is a show where I'm supervising another showrunner. So that's reading a lot of drafts, giving notes, trying to help her make it green light ready. And the third is a show I'm in revisions for at Disney Plus.
So,
So, yeah.
and that's a ton. That's a lot.
Yeah.
However, it's important to also highlight different phases of these things. It's not
Yes.
like you're on page 1 and step 1 of all these different aspects.
Correct. Although I think if you took everything off my plate today and I was like, fuck, I gotta sell something. And I started writing my spec full time, I think I would still need a second spec to be working on to do exactly what you're saying. To like when 3 o'clock comes around and I'm so tired and I hate what I've been doing all day, I can transition into the second thing. Then I'm like, oh, it's like I'm cheating, and this is like a treat. And then when I'm sick of that one, tomorrow morning I can go back and
Yeah.
so juggling 2 things at once always feels like the like bare minimum.
Yeah.
So going back to multitasking, besides I think just hedging your bets in terms of having a steady paycheck, as much as one can in this business of freelance work, I think multitasking also means that you get to work with more people, right? You're meeting more people. Josh just described working with so many different people in the process of all the different projects he has going on, which means you're giving more people a chance to love you. Not just one studio with those 2 executives, right? You're working with multiple production companies and all of their executives, many of whom will one day leave those companies and go on to other companies and still remember loving you with all of their new writing assignments, right? You're also working with multiple studios. I'm working with Disney Plus. I'm working with Amazon. I've never been in the Disney family before. That's very cool. I want to do really well for them so that they consider me part of the family and will think of me for other things in the future. It also means that this project will show other people, this Disney Plus project will show other people that I can work on family content, like 4-quadrant type stuff, not just adult R-rated stuff, which is what I usually do, which means that allows me to expand my horizons and open up my career a little bit more, right? If people only know me from Red Sonja and Tomb Raider and the Mighty Nine, which is its own like action adventure. Tomb Raider is more I wouldn't call it family, but it allows access to everyone. But to again, it's not a Disney Plus show, right? A Disney Plus show will show that Tasha can do Disney content,
Yep.
which will pave new avenues for me in my career. More opportunities become available to me. So that is also the benefit of multitasking. So if it terrifies you, know that it is absolutely worth it in so many different ways to multitask in order to keep your career really moving. Here's one more very important part about being a multitasker, I think, is that
I love how much you love the multitask.
I love it so much. I think it's so important. It it gives your reps a reason to talk about you to other people, right? It's
that's a
much
great point.
easier,
Yeah.
right, to sell, or if someone's like, Josh has got this going on, this going on, this going on, people are like, oh shit, Josh is in demand. What do people know about Josh that I don't know? That like FOMO is a very real thing in this
Yeah.
business. Actually, your own agent talked about it, David Boxerbaum, when we interviewed him about how important FOMO is for him as a strategy in selling specs. It is a very real thing, and people feel that. I've had my manager tell me, like, as a strategy, when I've been like, oh no, I don't want to cancel on this person again, but I really need to work. I need to write. And she's like, do it. And then tell them why. Because that tells them you're working, and
Yeah.
then that will get them excited. I was like, oh, that feels like nagging someone, but okay. um, so that's another important part of multitasking. Now, can you have a career without multitasking? Yes, of course. We know people who don't multitask, who still have a very good career. Anything is possible in our industry, which is why Josh loves it so much. However, in my opinion, and in my experience of my own career and observing the careers of others whom I like really admire and I would really want to emulate, multitasking has so many payoffs to it that it is one of the main reasons I think I have been able to sustain my career. I think without it, I would have stalled a long time ago.
Yeah, you're very good at multitasking.
Thank you, Joshua. I've tried really hard to be so.
You are. I mean it.
It helps me, honestly, to have you as a multitasker because you make me feel not crazy.
Oh,
Because
wow.
everyone else makes me feel crazy for the
Oh, no,
amount
you're
of
not
work that
crazy.
I do.
No.
Thanks,
We don't
man.
do enough. Yeah.
I agree.
we don't do enough. That's how I feel. Like, I always do more.
Which is why tool number 5 comes in handy, which is actually a Josh tool, is be proactive.
I feel like we almost just covered this. As you were saying, I was like, oh, this might have like flipped into this one. You just,
I think so too.
y-
I think so
so
too. I'll just say that I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, Josh, but do you think we're hustlers?
yeah, yes,
I think so too.
I
I
would
think
say
that
so.
becomes a big part of being a writer. When I first got into writing, I thought, I just write, I give it to someone, they go and sell it. And that's just, please get that out of your head. That's not what it is. It's a lot of hustling. Don't think once you get a rep, you're going to finally break into the business. Most of the writers I talk to, honestly, 90% of the writers I talk to tell me their reps aren't working for them. They're not doing the thing you expect that they're going to do for you. As you get into the business, they're not getting the meetings, they're not putting them up for jobs. So that all then falls onto you to
Yeah.
build these connections, to not be a dick, to be professional, to all these things, to collect people who are fans of yours so that you can actually get jobs, etc., without your reps. Your reps think of them as like, if I get a job for my rep, that's a bonus. It's not the only way I'm getting jobs.
Listen, I have expectations of people, but at the end of the day, I fully expect that it's like you just have to do more than everybody.
Yeah. Tool number 6, always be improving your craft. Watch movies, study those movies, talk about those movies with other people, break down why they work, why they don't work. Come to our Patreon Q&As. We talk a lot about movies and we break them down, scripts, movies, and we learn writing lessons from them. Read books, go experience the world, have opinions about those experiences, let your imagination wander, go just live your life. If you want to take a class on writing, go do that too. Go to Q&As with filmmakers, go to museums. I think just never stop growing. As good a writer as you are right now, imagine writer from 2 years from now. They're going to be so much better because you've worked at improving your craft now. So it's infinitely important, you know? That's
Yeah.
part of also being a professional. But I think I am not super proud of Red Sonja, which is my first movie that came out.
Oh,
But when the movie came out, so many professionals told me, look back at the first movie of some of your heroes, some of the great writers in this industry, and go try this at home right now. Go to the IMDb page of someone that you really, really love as a writer and go scroll all the way down to their very first credit. And almost guaranteed it's not a banger, right?
of course.
And they are your writing hero because and the reason is they didn't stop growing their craft and they didn't stop learning. They never thought that they were done, right? Tony Gilroy's first movie, The Cutting Edge, the figure skating movie. Right?
That movie's awesome.
Cult classic.
Yeah.
But now he's
were
writing
you to
Andor.
shit on The Cutting Edge?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But that's not what you'd expect for the guy who's writing about, rebelling against fascism.
That's true.
Final tool number 7. After all of this, guys, never give up. Everything we just talked about is very hard. And everything we didn't talk about today, but talk about every other day on the podcast, that's also really hard. But I was told this when I, made it into the WGA, that more athletes make it into Major League Baseball than writers make it into the WGA. And the reason is because many writers give up before they make it. And I get it. The odds are stacked against you, but know that it's not impossible. You can accomplish your dream. Josh and I are doing it. Stick it out longer than the writer next to you. Just don't give up.
Never give up.
And those are our tools. Those are our tools for how to stay relevant, to set yourself up for success when it comes to having a long-standing career.
Perfect. I don't even want to talk anymore.
I don't want to talk anymore either. Quote of the day. Forget about talent, whether or not you have any, because it doesn't really matter. I don't feel that I have any particularly literary talent. It was what I wanted to do, and I followed what I wanted to do, as opposed to getting a job doing something that would make me more money, but it would make me miserable. Octavia E. Butler. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha Story Thursday on Instagram, or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two Podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.